Okay, so I found some more information on codependent enmeshment and some really good definitions or examples of better examples, I think, um, at a site called counselingforless.com, and the number 4 instead of 4, FOR, it's the number 4, counselingforless.com. That oftentimes your family of origin, whoever raised you, can be the source for learning how to be an enmeshed personality. And so people who are codependent often grow up in families where some of the general rules contribute to codependency. And some of those things, I mean, it's a long list, but I'm going to try, I think I should read it all because I think they all resonate. But if you've ever heard these phrases in your home of origin that you were raised in, or you resonate with this, you're probably familiar with some form of codependent enmeshment. So if you were raised in a home where it was not okay to talk about problems, you don't trust your instincts or other people, you've been told or you sort of appropriated the idea that it's unpleasant feelings should not be openly expressed, i.e. anger, differing opinions, etc. You keep your feelings to yourself. Communication is best when it is indirect. Use another family member as a messenger between two others. Always be good, strong, right, and perfect, or at least act it. Make us proud beyond realistic expectations. Don't be selfish. Do as I say, not as I do. It's not okay to be playful. It's not okay to shine or to excel too much. Do not rock the boat. Disaster is always lurking just around the corner, so tread lightly. Guard your family secrets. You should feel guilty or scared to say no. Pretend there are no problems. Nice people are boring, and in parentheses, healthy people. If we disagree with each other, we are attacking or abandoning each other. Control others by manipulating with threats, fear, guilt, or pity. If you need attention, be overly dramatic to get it. Set off others' emotional temperatures to see how it is you feel or should feel. And if you control things and people, you will be safe. That is like the dictionary definition of a codependent, enmeshed family. And guess what? You take those things with you if you grew up with that. If you grew up with any of that, it's a pretty safe bet. You grew up in a family that was enmeshed and codependent. So, what's the bottom line? What's the base equation with all of that? The common denominator is don't pay attention to yourself. Abandon yourself. Self-abandonment. That's a recipe for CPTSD, by the way. And I know of which I speak because I'm a survivor of that. And that is an exact template of what I grew up with, pretty much. On the one hand, yes, feelings were appropriately expressed. On the other hand, there was like the schizophrenia where it was like, no, we don't, this certain things were verboten and not, and we can't, and no, and you shall not speak of this. So it was difficult. It was difficult. It was pretty schizoid. Schizotypal? Schizophrenic? I don't know. I'm not making any sense. I hope I am. I strive to make sense. Sometimes I fail. You just kind of have to deal. So, and I could get into this. There is this thing, it's countertransference. Just look it up. Countertransference, that's more about the therapist than you. If you're working with a therapist who is experiencing countertransference, that's not helpful for the person who has CPTSD. But that is a clinical term that is also called, I believe it's called empathic enmeshment. But that is not the kind of empathic enmeshment I'm going to talk about now. The kind of empathic enmeshment I'm talking about now has to do with what I called it empathic enmeshment, and then I looked it up and I saw it was a clinical term about clinical transference. So that's, just briefly, clinical transference is when the caretaker, the clinician, the psychologist or whomever is helping you with your mental health issues starts identifying or over-identifying with your situation too much, or there's a kind of enmeshment that takes place there, which can be really bad for healing and for therapy. And you probably, I don't know if you should fire your therapist, but it's probably something the therapist should be aware of if they start doing it. they need to stop doing it. And maybe a healthy therapeutic relationship can continue. But I'm not a substitute for psychological advice in any way, shape, or form. Just a disclaimer there. I'm just putting this out there as definitions. So if you are seeking therapy, you probably should look up the term transference from the client's standpoint, the patient's standpoint, and the therapist's standpoint. For the therapist, it would be counter-transference. Sorry, I'm being very wordy. Okay, so very briefly for me, the difference between that kind of enmeshment and what I was going to call empathic enmeshment, that's already a clinical term, so I guess I can call it the empathic response, or what it is to receive and experience a true psychic empathic ability. I'm going to use an example. Somebody I have a very emotional tie to. I felt him the other day bite into a raspberry macaroon, and I love macaroons, not the coconut kind that are disgusting and catch in your throat. I'm talking about like La Durée macaroons from Paris. Ugh, I'm obsessed with them. They're just really good, and they're beautiful, and they encompass all the senses. Maybe not the sixth sense, but all the other five senses. I mean, they taste fantastic. They taste like heaven. They look great. They're beautiful colors. The scent is incredible. What's the sound? I don't know. I mean, opening a box? I don't know. Macarons? I don't know. But I'm kind of obsessed with La Durée macarons. And they're beautiful, and everything about them is like a full, complete experience. And so I had this experience apropos of nothing the other day, not long ago, maybe several months ago, where I'm just doing my thing, and all of a sudden I felt this burst of delicious raspberry filling and macaroon taste in my mouth. I wasn't eating anything. I hadn't had any raspberry flavor, anything, no jam, no marmalade, anything. And I tasted this macaroon like it was mine, like I was eating it. And I know other people that have had those kinds of experiences. And usually it's more intense. It's usually with people who consider themselves twin flames. But I do know of empathic experiences with just random people who have also had that kind of thing happen. And I believe that's a form of psychic ability, obviously. And I'm able sometimes to send flavors too to people. So if I'm eating like ice cream or something, I will try and send it to this person who I'm obviously very connected to. And I don't know if they get it, but I send it. So it's a little weird trying to describe that, because people will want to say, well, that's codependent enmeshment. Like, you can't tell where a flavor begins and something else ends. Or is it really just psychic? In which case, I wouldn't want to have it taken away, because I love it. I think it's great. Sometimes it gets overpowering. Like, for instance, I can feel this person, I can feel what they're feeling. And it's intense sometimes, because if they're in a bad mood, I feel it. And so having to learn how to say, that's them, that's not me. But I recognize that, and I hold space for that, and I'm saying, okay, I feel your pain, but I'm not going to own that, because it's not mine to own, but I do sympathize, or I empathize with that other person's pain. So I hope that clarifies a little bit. And I have so many more examples of that kind of empathic experience, of feeling and tasting and smelling and hearing other people's experiences and feelings. Mostly it's feelings, but when it's a flavor like that, or something like raspberry, it's amazing. It's delightful. It's the opposite of depressing and horrible. It's really great. Sometimes it's overwhelming, especially if the person's crying or something, but I still think it's beautiful, because it's happening. It's real. And it's not my imagination, and I'm not being a fantasist or imagining it. It's very, very real. It's almost psychedelic. It's trippy. It's kind of trippy, but it's delightful. So yeah, so that's, I guess I shouldn't call it empathic enmeshment. I guess I should call it an empathic experience, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to title these videos, but I hope you enjoyed them and have fun. Bye. I'll try and make more videos on a regular schedule. Bye.